Everyone good?
Yeah.
Great. Observation 1 is the resolution analysis. The input is the resolution the United States federal government should increase aid and/or assistance to the Islamic Republic of Pakistan to safeguard their nuclear weapons. The visa point is this program should be around the criterion of net benefits through the lens of policymaker. The observation 2 is the plan text. The United States federal government should increase aid to the Islamic Republic of Pakistan to safeguard their nuclear weapons by providing $100 million of assistance for the physical security of sites in Pakistan housing nuclear weapons. The United States federal government should increase aid to the Islamic Republic of Pakistan to safeguard their nuclear weapons by providing $100 million of assistance, $100 million of assistance for the physical security of sites in Pakistan housing nuclear weapons. Funding enforcement through normal means.
Say physical or physical?
Physical.
Okay.
Yeah, like Olivia. The observation 3 solvency. The first argument is normal means indicates that this would be a secret provision of aid to the Pakistani military through the President. The ace point is the empirics. November 17, 2007, New York Times revealed that from 2001 to 2007, we were routinely giving over $100 million of aid to Pakistan to secure their nuclear weapons, but this aid remained secret until Pakistani officials actually started disclosing it domestically. The ace point is this always increases the propensity of success because it avoids because it averts domestic political pressure on Pakistan from accepting aid from the United States, and it allows them to just actually say yes and enjoy the awesome stuff we give them. The second argument is Pakistan would say yes. The easy point is the empirics prove we gave them aid from 2001 to 2007. They refused aid for securing their nuclear weapons before, but only when we did in terms of permissive action links and other things that they think undermines their deterrent strategy. As long as it's just physical aid for the security of their sites, they have no reason to avoid it. The second argument is it's in Pakistan's best interest because the military has at times pursued an unfortunately ambiguous relationship with the Taliban, but that is only becoming more dangerous now as the Taliban gain power to actually be able to attack these sites. This only makes them look worse in the eyes of India, which increases their propensity of being first struck, and also makes the Pakistan's own military look less credible and have less security over their own assets, which they don't like. Advantage 1 is nuclear weapons in Pakistan. The ace point is the first argument is Pakistan nuclear weapons are unsecured and sensible. The ace point is that on August 16, 2012, six militants actually attacked a air base in Karma that housed nuclear weapons. They were able to get through 3 different security checkpoints and kill a security officer before they were actually apprehended. The piece of point is that there have been similar attacks in 2007, 2009, and 2011, and multiple of these attacks have resulted in military deaths and actually resulted in deep penetration into the base, which indicates the Taliban are actually getting more and more likely to actually be able to access nuclear weapons. The season point is they take place within this takes place within the context of international policy reform. It is widely acknowledged that Pakistan doesn't have enough nuclear weapons. Hence the topic area. The second argument is that Pakistan fears internal threats before their stance for security of nuclear weapons was all based on secrecy because they were worried about a first strike from India. But now the people that the monsters they've actually created are capable of actually dealing them a significant blow. They need to diversify their strategy away from just secrecy and deal with security. Third argument is that Pakistan is a lack of nuclear safety is destabilizing Pakistan. In 2012, high-ranking Indian defense officials actually reported to the Times of India that they have very little confidence in Pakistan's own ability to secure this. The piece point here is that in 2002 and 2008, conventional terror attacks from Pakistan actually almost caused war. That indicates how seriously India takes threats from Pakistan. They believe it's an existential threat when Pakistan nuclear weapons aren't secured. The piece point is the links. The first argument is we would actually secure their assets. This would make physical security a lot more beefed up. That is the actual problem right now. You can see by the evidence that we're actually reading about the attacks that are happening now that they're actually being stopped by physical security. It's only a question of whether physical security is enough. The second argument is it solves their specific vulnerability. They've not relied on physical security and things like that before because they relied only on secrecy. But now the nature of the threat has changed. They're always able to solve back for this way. The third argument is it would always calm Indian fears of insecurity to the point where these physical sites are less likely to be grabbed by non-state actors and used against Pakistan. The cease point is the internal links. This always prevents a misuse or capture of nuclear weapons and actually deploying them into India either through either through a launch or through a terror attack and non-conventional means. The second argument is it actually prevents an India freakout. We tell you that India is always going to be more likely to miscalculate and think that the attack is coming in the status quo, particularly if they already hear any chatter about there being an attack on a nuclear site. They would always have to act to strike first. These points, the effects. The first argument is is that the theft would actually bad. Theft would probably lead to a nuclear weapon being detonated either in India or against a target within Pakistan that the people stealing it actually oppose. This would lead to millions of deaths initially, but would also cause a massive amount of instability in the region. Probably lead to a nuclear war between Pakistan and India. The second argument is that the freakout would always be bad because it would lead to a launch of weapons on Pakistan. Pakistan has second strike capabilities because they have weapons sufficiently spread out. That indicates that it would lead to a massive war. Draws in China and the United States because China is so allied with Pakistan and the United States is so allied with India. Goes nuclear, leads to extinction. Advantage 2 is Pakistan relations. The eighth point is Nee's first argument is relations very low and statistical. The eighth point is that drones are fundamentally frame relations and are making agreement difficult. The eighth point is that the United States has been unable to convince them not to develop the Iran pipeline, which shows that there's absolutely no clout for Washington, Pakistan, and status quo. The eighth point is that recent statements from Zardari indicates he's trying to express his independence. Specifically, he's moving away from the United States, but all in the context of trying to express independence and autonomy of Pakistan, because that's what he's been criticized for in his relationship with the United States. He's allowed drone strikes and other things to happen, which is making Pakistan look like an insovereign, not independent country. The second argument is the relations issues are due to specific United States policy. United States policy make Pakistan steer non-sovereign. You can particularly see the example of drones, and people don't think it's adequately quid pro quo. The United States decides on a solution and imposes it top down, which makes Pakistan look not independent. The third argument is that low relations are with Pakistan leading to a number of issues. These, what is the Karzai said that Pakistan is blamed for increased destabilization in Afghanistan. It becomes almost impossible to fight them. The point is that terror suspects in Pakistan are routinely under prosecuted by courts. And the C sub point is that. The point is that Pakistan has failed to comply with the United States' request to stop the ethnic violence that's ongoing against Shiites within Pakistan. The point is Lake Argument's plan solves Pakistani relations. Plan solves Pakistan and increases their relations. This is true because we actually capitulate to their demands. The second argument is it solves their specific problems because we're aligning exactly with Pakistan policy instead of going top down. The third argument is it engages Pakistan the way they want to engage, not unilaterally. We're not insisting that they adopt permission action links or things that we want. We go with the type of security that they want. The CISA point is the internal links. This one will lead to Pakistan being more active in Afghanistan and being more active against non-state actors and trying to stop the violence against Shiites. The CISA point is the impacts in Afghanistan destabilization would be devastating, would spill over to Pakistan and would replicate the harms of the 1AC. Non-state actor attacks would be another avenue if there to be attack on India. And the third argument would be a genocide that Shiites is absolutely devastating, would be kill tens of thousands of people within Afghanistan, lead to a regional war. Or Pakistan, pardon me.
Advantage, one advantage, two sheets of paper.
Cool. Oh, I can tell.
Well, then, can you give us a
ridiculous.
second?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. Is everybody ready? First, I can discuss what's going to solve Pakistan military considers its military the absolute crown jewel of their country. It is the only thing that it is the thing that they protect more than anything else because nukes are the only thing that makes Pakistan relevant. But the second argument is in 2011, the United States published a report that Pakistan had off security, and in response to this, Pakistan trained 8,000 troops in order to secure. No reason as to why it would be unsecure. Now, the fourth argument is even Pakistani enemies think they are safe. Your arguments about why India thinks they are unsafe is because of 2002 when they put them on the border. When they put nuclear weapons on the border, that was not an issue of unsafe. That was an issue of political dynamics. That was because Sharif was the president then, and he was very anti-India. Additionally, one of India's top generals said that no one can have complete security, but Pakistan's nuclear security is doing its best. It's an indication as to why they're not afraid. But the next argument is that Pakistan just created a strategic plan which involves personal reliability program and a human reliability program, which means that they force all of their military personnel to go through security checkups, and they do this 4 times as much as the United States does. But the next argument is that Pakistan has actually created an in-depth accountability for its system of nuclear weapons. This system was derived from modern training and modeled after the United States laboratory procedures, and they have semi-annual annual surprise inspections of the nuclear facilities. The next argument is if your plan is so popular as you say, we already have a framework for giving Pakistan nuclear security. It's better that we just let the status quo do it. If do it eventually and not do it right now. There's no time frame deficit. There are no time frame arguments on the impacts. So the next argument is drones are always going to be able to slap back. Most drones are able to track and detect nuclear traces. They look at radioactive isotopes released by stolen weapons. We have the RQ-170 drone, which enables us to do this. But the next argument is that Pakistan also has tamper-proof vehicles and containers, which means that whenever they transport their material, their caravans are extremely well guarded. But the next argument is that Pakistan also has mated nuclear weapons, which means that they keep the launching material different from where they keep the fissile material. And additionally, because they are mated, that means when you take the fissile material, you also have to connect it with the very correct launching material, which means that in order to buy your store, you have to believe that non-state actors would not only be able to get the fissile material, and they'd have to steal the launching material, and they'd have to meet that up in the same place, and then be able to shoot off a nuclear weapon without being caught. That argument is just asinine. Go to the next two. You're never going to be able to stop state relations. Well, you're never going to be able to stop state relations. One, because drones are always going to be inevitable, which means that we're never going to have enough say. You can extend across all statistical arguments and say that we give them a shit ton of aid. A lot of it is aid that they've asked for, probably an indication that aid to safeguard the nuclear weapons doesn't actually affect the policies. Additionally, we're never going to persuade them to stop killing Shiites because most of our largest allies within the Middle East are actually Sunni Muslims. I highlight that. Saudi Arabia is actually our biggest ally, which are Wahhabi Sunni Muslims who think that Shiites should be wiped off the face of the planet, which means that we would never take a policy to protect the minority of Muslims, which means you can never stop this argument. Next off. Elections. The first step is the Pakistani government's facing elections right now. They're having elections within spring 2013, and they're going to be in government. They're going to be in government by the summer. The second argument is that there are multiple groups who want power. Who want power, and anyone who's not the current government would be absolutely awful. This is because one group not only wants to create a military civilian government, but the other group wants to cut off the United States entirely. The third argument is that the PPP, the group who's in power right now, is expected to remain in power. They are expected to take 2 of the 4 major voting areas and will retain 90 of the 270 seats. The next argument is going to the links. The first argument is Pakistan views the United States aid as influence into their personal politics. Pakistanis look at this for evidence for the United States to tip their scales. I will answer their preemptive arguments now. They say that aid has been given in secret. However, those arguments are extremely outdated. That was when we gave aid when Sharif was in power. This is because Sharif was very anti-United States, so he didn't want to say that he was getting aid from the United States. However, the current government that is in place right now is friends of the United States. He widely publicizes that. Additionally, you said that the government would still know about it. You are ignoring the complexity of the Pakistani government. That they have a general assembly, which means that they have 272 members, and likely one of those who is not pro the current regime would find out about it and backlash to try to form the coalition since they want to get the current government out of power. But the next argument is that many Pakistanis are already in the United States. Aid is a chance to get their help to get their pet projects, which means that they literally have to win. That there isn't going to be a single person in the 272 people in their general parliament that won't find out that we're giving aid. Internal links. First argument is that the perception that the United States is going to trigger a massive backlash. This is because 69% of the country already views the United States as the enemy, which means it's going to be easy for them to form an opposition coalition against them and be able to oust the current government. But the second argument is that the current loss of the government is going to absolutely kill your relationship across the way, which would turn back all of your impacts because any of these people and anyone who gets power that is not the PPP party is going to be absolutely devastating for relations. But it also means that all of your Afghanistan arguments and the Shiite arguments and the Shiite arguments are also going to be inevitable. But additionally, I didn't really flesh out the Afghanistan argument, so I guess I'll do it here. But the argument is that we are leaving Afghanistan now and we're expecting Pakistan to avoid the impacts. The one argument is that in a world in which relations are tarnished, we're no longer going to be able to avoid. That means that the non-state actors and non-state actors are going to be able to overrun are going to be able to overrun Afghanistan, which would result in massive death and dehumanization. But this argument also proves that if there is a single ligature to any of your arguments about non-state actors, it is only in a world in which one of the governments, which another political party, like the one that Sharif is in and who is running again, is in charge, that they would actually be more aggressive and they would be more sensitive to non-state actors. That's the only scenario in which your situation would be more unlikely. But the next argument I want is that the other two parties who are not the PPP are also very pro taking aggressive action towards India, which means that all of your Indian arguments would also be inevitable since one of the parties is the one who actually put weapons on the Indian border. Counterplan text.
Question?
I'm assuming you want him on the counterplan. The United States federal government should increase aid to the nation of India to safeguard their nuclear weapons by providing $100 million of assistance for the physical security of sites in Indian housing nuclear weapons. Do the plan, but in India, not Pakistan. Question.
Yeah, it's about the dissent. So what are the two parties that are going to take power? They're going to form one coalition movement, right?
Question. There is the PLM-N, which is headed by Sharif. There's also the PTI, which is the smaller party, which would likely coalesce with the PLMN, since they are the ones that have the bigger coalition, which means that they would form together to get the PP out, because the one thing that they can actually coalesce around is the anti-United States sentiment, but also being anti the PPP. Counterplan. First argument is the counterplan would absolutely solve for all the politics. To say there is literally no internal link between us giving aid to another country and how that affects Pakistan politics. That argument is also better because the PPP would use us to make them the PPP would make us giving aid to India, make them look effective at securing the nuclear weapons program. But they'd also probably skew this as us giving India a kill such. They'd also probably skew this as us cracking down in India after their mission launch that they did in November. The argument is that the counterplan would also solve better for nuclear nukes because the Pakistan nuclear dilemma is not based on not based on a lack of physical security. It's based on the fact that they have lower level generals who have the ability to shoot off nuclear weapons. That is their nuclear security, which is not something that you can solve for because it's bad army protocol. But India India actually has terrible nuclear security. The only countries that are worse are Iran and North Korea. Additionally, they have absolutely no regulating body, which means a couple of things. Probably means that all of our impacts about India are entirely inevitable in a world in which they have permanently not secure nuclear weapons, but also we have a benefit. The one is that you can discuss how India has those nukes, but the B argument is that the Lashkar non-state actor group posted a unique that in India they are based in Pakistan and want to avenge India for killing one of their members who took part in the 2008 Mumbai attacks who publicly executed. They're currently working with Al-Qaeda in order to get passports from Afghanistan to infiltrate India. The C argument is they said they would blow major area temples as well as the lowest temple, which would not only kill thousands of people, but it would also cause them to be overrun with war, which would not entirely turn all of their kids, but it would also cause India to retaliate. Since the group is from Pakistan, they would be able to actually have a legitimate reason as to why they would attack Pakistan, which means that not only would they start attacking Pakistan, not only is India attacking Pakistan inevitable because of non-state actors, but it would also be worse for all of your it would also be worse for all of your relations arguments than it was because we couldn't stop them from going to war. But additionally, India's security, you can cross about India's security is always going to make Pakistan insecurity inevitable because the world in which India does not have very secure nuclear weapons, Pakistan is always going to be more and more concerned about militarizing their border, which is always has a high propensity to increase tensions within the region.
Counterplan. Advantage 1, advantage 2.
Give me just 1 second. The computer's
Yeah.
really slow as it says. Okay, sorry.
Okay. On the Pakistani politics scenario, they're just not specific enough, and they're just wrong about uniqueness. They're never going to be able to win this. We tell you that Sharif is actually going to win the elections. Now he's winning the polls right now because he was able to flip public support because of a promotion for domestic infrastructure, which is something that the public really liked. That got the public around. So we also tell you that this increases the propensity. The plane only increases the propensity for Sharif to win because the plane is another public works project because it protects the public infrastructure, which is the reason he's winning in the status quo. There's only a chance that the plane makes it win even more. We also tell you that Sharif was actually winning 7 out of 8 open seats in the election that happened in December. Always the unique reason he's going to win. He's also uniquely winning all of the poll arguments. Now that their arguments are straight up wrong and are deceptive of the most recent polls. We also tell you that Sharif is really pro the United States, meaning plane is only an increasing chance that he wins, which isn't a change from the status quo. There's only a chance that we make him win more. Means this never happens. Also, we tell you that coalitions are literally never going to be built in the status quo. These coalitions won't happen because the PTI is always so anti-establishment that they would literally never build any elections in the status quo. There's no chance that we make this worse. On the uniqueness debate, we tell you that they said that the secret we tell you no link because it always happens in secret. They say that these secret warrants are always going to be outdated, but they said that they wouldn't be. They said that they wouldn't be anti-U.S. anymore, which is always a reason that this is that they are now outdated. Also, look at the fact that for 7 years they were super secret, and no one in Parliament ever found out. Probably a unique reason that people in Parliament wouldn't find out found out this time. We're not telling the people in Parliament. There's absolutely no reason that they would if they didn't. For 7 years, they also said the General Assembly would be able to find out, but we wouldn't let them find out. The government is not in Sharif's best interest or in anyone in the government's best interest to let the Parliament find out because then it leads to massive amounts of confusion and means that this chaos happened over their general election. A unique reason that the General Assembly never finds out the next argument is linked to this is good. Linked we are actually able to solve this because we passed by India because it looks like Pakistan is not in control anymore, meaning we're the only way to solve any of the impacts of this. The next argument is linked we actually passed by the politics in Pakistan because they don't have to worry about terrorist or non-state actors taking their nuclear weapons anymore. Also, we take a clear stance by the United States, meaning there's no chance that any of the actors use the United States stance as like we have the United States. We don't. We clarify the United States stance. What's up?
Aid not unique. Right, we give them almost $1 billion in aid.
Right. The next argument is aid not unique. All of our arguments are that we give them a bunch of dollars in aid right now, and this hasn't triggered this. Meaning that if there was any any chance that the United States being pro-Pakistan would trigger this. It would have already. Also, all of their arguments about the United States acting in the status quo, while the United will make the argument that the United States doesn't have the ability to solve for any of the advantages that we claim in the status quo, but they are acting in the status quo, which is a unique reason that their politics is determinately not unique and doesn't lead to any backlash. We also told you that Advantage 2 was always going to be able to solve that for any of these relations arguments. We're the only way to create stability. They don't do enough work on Advantage 1 or Advantage 2 to ever be able to win the internal link level here.
Specifically, they can see the links. This is more of a concession and less of a top-down imposition. Only risk we're better.
Right. Specifically, they can see that this is more of a concession and less of a top-down approach. The top-down approach is what would trigger the links. We're the only way to solve that for this. We're also the only way to create any type of stability to solve that for any of the impacts here. Counterplan debate. The first argument is do both, do the plan and the counterplan, the only, just literally do both of them. We tell you that the perm is always going to be the best option because it gets rid of both of their, secures both of their nuclear stockpiles. There's also absolutely no reason to not do the perm. We tell you that the perm is always going to shield the link because it gives to both, meaning it doesn't look like the United States is being super pro-Pakistan. It doesn't embolden anyone. It looks like the United States is just increasing their aid to the Middle East. No one freaks out. It's also probably not perceived as a pro-Pakistan stance. The third argument is that the dissent that Pakistan totally freaks out to the counterplan because it looks like the United States is the only unilaterally supporting India, but not supporting Pakistan anymore. We already tell you that Pakistan is super afraid of India, and this status quo probably a unique reason if the United States and Pakistan actually cares about decide they're going to support India in their nuclear proposal, but not support Pakistan like they have in the past. Meaning this increases the propensity for Pakistan to put their nukes on the border with India, and for Pakistan to strike India, always going to lead to a nuclear war. The fourth argument is that they don't have the ability to solve Advantage 1 or Advantage 2. They're not doing enough case analysis here. That means these nuclear war scenarios on both Advantage 1 and Advantage 2 are always going to be disadvantages to the counterplan, but unique net benefits to the perm. The fifth argument is that this actually links to politics because it emboldens people against the United States. The fourth next argument is that they think these NPTE impacts are totally inevitable. That's probably something that the perm is always going to be able to solve. Also, the next argument is that these NPTE impacts are not inevitable because India has good command and control structures in the status quo, something that Pakistan uniquely doesn't have. Also, India has put actually put money that Pakistan hasn't into being able to safeguard their nuclear weapons. Also, they have technological safeguards that Pakistan doesn't have in the status quo. Unique reason that these loose nukes aren't a threat. Also, there haven't been attacks across all the analysis about how Pakistan has seen attacks. They're not reading any evidence about how India has seen these attacks happening in the status quo. Always the reason you prefer our impacts that they don't solve for. Advantage 1. They try to make a bunch of status quo solved arguments, but none of them assume any of the arguments Joe makes. They say that the military is a crown jewel and they have to protect the military. That's not responsive to the fact that their weapons are getting attacked in the status quo. Cross-apply Joe's one argument where he tells you that militant groups were able to sneak in and attack the nuclear weapons. If they're their crown jewel, it doesn't matter because they're clearly not doing a good job of protecting them. Their second argument is that Pakistan was able to beef up the troops. Also not responsive to the fact that they didn't, the troops that they have in the status quo weren't able to protect them.
And we post-date that.
We also post-date these arguments. Our arguments are from 2012. They say that India in 2002 proves these political dynamics argument. That argument is also not responsive. We tell you that India is uniquely afraid of Pakistan and the status quo because of the attacks that have just happened in 2012. Also, they said that India said that they were in the best relations right now. Also, not responsive to the fact that they're afraid that people are going to steal these nuclear weapons in the status quo. They say Pakistan has a strategic plan for security in the status quo. We tell you that this strategic plan isn't working in the status quo. They don't have the ability to set up this infrastructure right now. It doesn't matter if they have any of these lab procedures. All of our uniqueness evidence is our unique reason that what is happening in the status quo clearly isn't solving. They say that the status quo would eventually become popular in the near future. There are no time frame arguments, but there's no money given by the United States in the future. The United States isn't giving money now. We make it happen. Also, all the impacts on Advantage 1 or Advantage 2 happen. Also, there's only an increased propensity that people steal the nuclear weapons in that time frame. Also, there's no reason we would ever do it. There's no reason we would ever do it in the future. We're not making arguments that the United States is considering doing this in the future. They're not getting this. They say the drones are always going to be able to solve. They're conceding the arguments on Advantage 2. The drones actually piss a bunch of people off, and drones are hurting our relationship with Pakistan. If we beef up the drones, that's always going to make things worse. And we need on top of Advantage 2. Also, drones don't fly over the entirety of Pakistan and have the ability to always safeguard these nuclear weapons. Clearly, we have drones in the status quo, but terrorists are non-state actors. We're still militants. We're still able to hack into these sites. They say Pakistan has many nukes that non-state actors would never be able to launch them. We tell you that dirty bombs can still happen even without these launch tactics. Also, Pakistan wants their nuclear weapons arsenal to be able to react quickly, meaning they don't have this massive step process. The reason they need nukes is to be able to act quickly on Advantage 2 relations. They say that that we don't have the ability to solve that. They're conceding an analysis about how we solve that. Their number one concession always has a key propensity to be able to solve that for drones because this is exactly what they've asked for. We're also solving that for the top-down approach arguments, which is what they asked for. They said that we're giving in the status quo. Yeah, we're not giving this type of this number one concession is what they're asking for. Also, this giving the status quo for, but that it still means that they can't solve the dissent. They say that you can't make them stop killing people. But we tell you that Saudi Arabia isn't pro-genocide in the status quo, so this warrant doesn't apply at all. So we've already called for them to stop for them to stop this, and this has been effective. That's the unique reason we can't solve this discrimination in the status quo. That's also not the only impacts that we have. We say that this leads to an act of Afghanistan. What?
They read no uniqueness for relations
No
good,
uniqueness
which
for
means they can't
relations
solve the
good,
dissent.
meaning can't solve the dissent.
Argument's going to be counterplan, dissent, advantage 1, advantage 2. Anyone not ready? Cool. They just way behind on these elections. They said they're reading this the wrong way. First of all, they said reading possible is popular in status quo, but you can send a number 3 argument right now that says that he actually is way ahead of the most recent poll. Additionally, he's expected to win the majority of the votes. Additionally, even if this argument is true, all their uniqueness on relations is the reason why he's moving away from the United States as the status quo. They can see that is super popular with 69% of the population, which means that even if he's behind the status quo, he moves away from the United States, which they read on their own relations advantage is the reason why he is gaining popularity in the status quo and is very likely that he's going to win the argument. What?
Extend our number 3 argument where the PPP, which is not Sharif, is going to stay in power.
PPP is not Sharif. He's not going to stay in power. It's a completely different president. They're reading this wrong. Sharif is not going to leave in power. Additionally, they're conceding that the PLM-Dajan and the other party are extremely anti-United States. Additionally, Sharif was historically anti-United States, which means if he was going to be in power, which they themselves in the number 2 said they were going to increase the prosperity of Sharif, probably means that they are guaranteeing us a link in the status quo, which means that Sharif is going to gain popularity, which and win the election. That is their number 2 argument, which probably means that we have a guaranteed leak here, especially because historically Sharif has actually been anti-United States. On the number it's just the number 5 argument that says that he's actually extremely anti-United States. That's only the PPP is the one that's unwilling to make concessions. But the argument right now is that he is perceived as moving away from the United States and the status quo. However, he's still willing to make concessions on things like Afghanistan, which they don't argue. Next, the number 6 argument that says the PTI is anti-coalition, but there are more anti-United States, which means that the United States was going all of a sudden to give $100 million right before the election starts. It looks like the United States is trying to influence the elections and try to use the government as their pet project that they've conceded will be spun by the party as the United States trying to influence the PPP party, which means that they're never going to be, which means that they would always backlash and the people will not vote for him, which means the PPP party would not get elected. Next, the number link argument, they said that outdated on the first is their no link argument that says that they do this in secret. First of all, in their own background argument, check it. It says that they have reported these things domestically, which means that domestic people also do this. Additionally, they only give aid from the United States, and if they were all of a sudden to have $100 million new dollars to have more $100 million, and all of a sudden ramp up all of their nuclear facilities, probably a reason why people would question this and at least be able to spin it.
They're so anti-US.
Yeah, additionally, they would probably just lie and say it was the United States. It's the reason why they're doing this because they're so anti-United States. What?
Who would lie to who?
The other parties would lie to the public about the United States getting it, even if that didn't happen.
Because they want to be in power.
Right. On the number 8 argument, they said this is their best. This is in their best interest, and it is one of their major concessions. But our argument is that these 2 parties that want absolutely nothing to do with the United States, which means that they would always be able to spin it off the public, especially because you're conceding that 69% of the population doesn't like it, which means that they would always want to get in power before they do it. They would always want to get in power, which means they would spin it as the United States trying to influence the election. Next is on their turn. They say they pacify India, which all of a sudden means that this is going to solve relations, but that is not our specific link argument. Our specific link argument is that it's going to be spun to the public as them actually, spun to the public as them actually not liking the plan, right? If they're going to spin it to the public, that is all that matters. It doesn't matter how their government sees it. It just matters how these parties are able to take advantage of the action. They've conceded that argument because elections are voted by the people, not necessarily by the government. That also answers their number 10 argument that says that the Pakistan actually wants this. Next, you say that the United States is in there in the status quo, and then we give them $1 million.
The argument about terrorists. They say they're not going to worry about
Oh, yeah,
terrorists.
they said they're not going to be worried about terrorists in the status quo, but once again, I already answered this argument by saying that, look...
The PLM in Sharif's party is very sensitive to non-state actors.
they also conceded in our impact that the PLM in Sharif is very sensitive to non-state actors, which means that this is actually not even a concern they have in the status quo, and they would probably likely spin this in our direction. Next, they say non-unique because the United States gives $1 billion, but our argument in the status quo was one, he's at least perceiving that he's moving away from the United States in the status quo, which means that he's gaining popularity. That is in their own advantages, even if the United States still has billions of dollars. Additionally, this would be a completely new aid package right before the elections, which has extremely bad timing, which means that you would never be out, which means that it's probably going our way. Additionally, they say Advantage 2 solves this, but this is absolutely ridiculous because our argument is that they get kicked out and then the anti-United States people get in, which probably means it turns all Advantage 2 and any sort of concessions that they're willing to make in the status quo completely go away. Next they say it's all about concessions, but once again, it's not all about the concession to the government. It's all about how the other parties are able to spin it to the United States when you have a brand new aid package right before elections happen. That's probably
if their arguments are true and that this is such a unique aid package, then all the aid we given them previously doesn't matter because it wouldn't have took the link. If they want solvency for their case, then none of the previous aid matters.
Right, and if all they want solvency for the case, then that means that all of the aid is probably increasing the relations in the status quo, which means the case doesn't even matter, and Advantage 2 can be solved for in this quo. On the counterplan, we're kicking it. It was conditional. They didn't ask us. Extend how India has controlled nukes right now, since they have no evidence.
So hang on. Extend. Yeah. Also extend how Indian security also means that.
Also extend how Indian security means that Pakistan security is increasing in the status quo. Also extend how India's security is interlinked with Pakistan security, because if India has secure nukes, then Pakistan feels as if they just have to focus on their own nuclear security, which means that they don't even have to worry about India. They can just focus on Pakistan, which is the reason why none of their advantages even matter. But let's go to the advantage. Our first argument is that the status quo solves that they would never actually be able to do this. They just say attacks are increasing in the status quo, but their own evidence is that they were only able to get a little bit there and then they were shut down. That's a reason as to why that they can't get into the nuclear facilities in the status quo. Additionally, they conceded under this argument that says that every time there's an attack, they revamp the amount of defense they have in there. Our number 2 argument says that the last attack made them increase their troops to 8,000. All that they say is, oh, troops don't do this in the status quo, but if you have 8,000 troops, it probably won deters any sort of future attacks. Additionally, this happened in 2012, which means that we are actually post-dating we are on the same year as your own evidence. Additionally, as long as there's an attack, that means there's always going to be increase in defense, which means this never happens. The only argument I need now is the number 9 argument that says that it's literally impossible for them to shoot off a nuclear weapon, even if they got their nuclear weapon. The detonator is in a different part of the country. They conceded this argument, which is a reason why you would never be able to vote for this, and it's more likely that this would just be perceived as the public as the United States trying to influence the election, which is why we're always going to be ahead on their probability argument. You can't let them concede this argument. Yeah. On to relations. Look, I need 2 arguments. First of all, the dissad turns the entirety of this, because if there is an anti-US party, probably means that relations completely collapse, and at least they're willing to make some concessions in Afghanistan in the status quo, which they conceded on the dissad that they are making concessions with Afghanistan, which means that they don't even have uniqueness for their advantage, and it all only goes to risk that they decrease relations post-plan. Additionally, our argument on Saudi Arabia is that Saudi Arabia is probably pro-genocide because they really fuck up people who are not their own. They're a puritanical sect of Islam that wants all the other Islam people to die, and they are super oppressive in their own government for people who aren't their type of religion, which actually means that is more key. Additionally, you're conceding arguments that the United States cares about their oil more than they care more about oil, which is why relations are key. What?
Go back to the elections decide. I need you to make one more argument.
Back to the elections decide.
Sharif was an extremely controversial ruler because he was the one who put nukes on India, which means that even if he's gaining power now, it's not enough for him to swap.
Additionally, Sharif was an extremely controversial ruler because he put nukes on the India-Pakistan border. One, that probably means that if any sort of attack that India would try to attack them in the status quo is probably not unique because they did it when they had nuclear weapons on their border, but it also means that Sharif would only have to have something that would be completely spun in his favor in order to win the election because people think he's controversial.
Decide advantage 1, advantage 2.
Yeah, right.
Everybody good? There is a damning double bind coming out of the MG where they talk about how unique the version of aid is given. If the version of aid that they are giving to Pakistan is so unique that it will solve for all relations, that means that it will inevitably be skewed by someone in the party to disrupt the elections. They cannot win this. Either the aid is not unique and the status quo solves, and you can just vote neg on presumption and on the disad, or it is so unique that it will trip the link to the disad on the elections politics disad. They claim all these arguments about how Sharif is winning now. I want you to first extend Stephen's last arguments where he says that Sharif was a controversial ruler. Sharif is the leader of the PLMN, who was the one who put nuclear weapons on Pakistan's border and tried to adopt a civil military government, which means that even if there is a slight chance that he's not winning now, and they claim their plan guarantees him to win, one, that will destroy all U.S. relationships, which means that they can never actually solve for advantage two because he's extremely anti the United States. You can classify the weapons, but he also is extremely critical of our anti-terrorism policy. But additionally, I want the third argument of uniqueness, which says that the PPP, the current party, is going to remain in power because they're expected to take 2 of 4 major voting blocks and retain 90 of the 272 seats, which means that the rest of the seats will just be split between other parties, which means that even if Sharif is gaining power now, it's still not enough to swamp the massive majority that the PPP leads. Only their plan would cause that to happen. Now the secrecy arguments. Their secrecy arguments are terribly outdated. They are from arguments that say that their arguments about how they didn't tell the government about us giving aid happened when Sharif was in power because he didn't want to seem pro-United States, but he still wanted military weapons. However, the PPP would not do this because they are more friendly with the United States. Additionally, you have to believe that $100 million of aid will go to Pakistan, and no one out of 272 people will try and skew that as United States aid to skew the elections. That's goddamn impossible. There's no freaking way. Not a single person of the 272 leaders will at least lie and say that the aid is coming from the United States and skew it as United States trying to co-opt the election and a reason why they need to kick out the PPP. You can see that kicking out of the PPP would automatically destroy relations, which means your advantage too doesn't matter. But you also can see that kicking out the PPP would also make a nuclear scenario inevitable because a civil military government would be set up under Sharif, which means that he would be the one who would put nuclear weapons on the border. Additionally, you're conceded that he's extremely sensitive to the plight of non-state actors because they are anti-United States, which means that all of your lose nuke scenarios become highly more probable in the world of the disad, which means that literally none of this matters, none of their concession arguments matters because it's not about what their plan actually does, it's about how the Pakistani government perceives that and how they skew it to the public during the election season. When they ignore the nuance of this argument, they will lose this round. Advantage 1. The only argument I need is that their nuclear weapons are entirely secure. You can see the argument about how not only do they keep their fissile and their launching material in different directions, but even though they've had attacks, not a single one has been successful. Probably an indication that they are solving now and will continue to solve within the future. In order for their loose nuke scenario to be true, you have to believe that a non-state actor will get fissile material and get the correct launching material and get those together and then fire a weapon before any of this happens, and that the drones will not check back for things like dirty bombs when they take the regulations, because you can see the drones will still be there, which means we solve for all of this. Relations disad. The Afghanistan argument doesn't matter, it's not fleshed out on this advantage, and is entirely turned back by the disadvantage. Additionally, you could never solve for genocide going on within the region. You are conceding that Saudi Arabia is our biggest ally within the region, who are Wahhabi Muslims, who are the most puritanical sect of Islam, and that think that every other sect of Islam, particularly Shias, should be wiped out, which means that even if we do slightly encourage genocide, we can never take up an entire policy to protect Shias, because then we would lose a massive ally within the region. Relations goes away after the disad. Nuclear weapons become inevitable after the disad. Status quo solves for everything and doesn't link into a single piece of offense. Very easy ballot for William Jewell.
All right, advantage 1, advantage 2, solvency debate, Pakistan debate, or the Pakistan politics debate.
Advantage 1, advantage 2, solvency dissent.
Yep. We will solve for the case that has every bit as much of an impact as the disadvantage. Also, you will not be able to win your disadvantage because you can see that there is no cooperation between Pakistan and the United States and the SQO. The only hope for cooperation is going to be through the plan. Also, in a world where we're both making arguments that Sharif is going to win, the only way that there's going to be only way to stop a risk of a terrorist attack is to increase the security of nuclear weapons. Advantage 1. You do contest this position, but only on a solvency piece of paper. I want you to know all of the link arguments which you get were actually able to secure the weapons, and particularly they were able to reassure India. Absolutely no contest to that, which indicates there's not going to be an Indian first strike. Your only argument is that there's not a propensity for Indian first strike. Those will be dealt with on the solvency piece of paper. If we are telling you that there's a high propensity for nuclear war, you can see that this will draw on China and Pakistan to go nuclear. That is a massive solvency deficit to a massive disadd to the squad. Advantage 2 is relations. Look what they do on this piece of paper. They get here with very little time left, and they make a drones argument and say there's no way we'll ever be able to solve and overcome drones. That indicates that there's no way in which we'll ever be able to cooperate with Pakistan on Afghanistan. They will never be able to solve the impact of the disadd. Emily extends this, and they do not deal with it properly. They are not offering a coherent defense of in what world the United States and Pakistan cooperate, only in the world of the plan. You can go to the link level specifically. The double line that Rosemary tries to put on this is cute, but ineffective because our arguments are not about it being new or bigger. Their arguments about how it is different. We tell you that it is a revision of the previous aid that we're actually doing. We tell you that this solves down for the top-down approach that we actually have, and we actually cooperate with Pakistan the way they want to be. In the past, we only said that this is the way you actually have to do relations. This is instead a quid pro quo thing in which we cooperate with them. It does not violate their sovereignty. That is the context in which they don't like our drones, because it violates their sovereignty and we make them look like a non-independent actor. That is what they're criticized for. Our links solve back for the entirety of that. You do not contest them because you do not have time on this piece of paper. You will be able to solve. This means we have the only way of being able to solve back for relations. You're not able to win your disadd because the collapse is 100% inevitable, and we get the net benefit of the Shiites. Your arguments are basically can be broken down into Saudi Arabia is super evil, but that's not going to be good enough, particularly because these are geopolitical power players who want to remain in power. Their interests are not in genocide. They've not pursued the genocide of Shiite populations before, only geopolitical politics. The second argument that Italy extends, though, which is ballin', is that the United States has already tried to get Pakistan to stop this stuff. They just haven't listened, which indicates that we are able to make the offer even in a world where Saudi Arabia doesn't like it. It indicates your argument doesn't matter. Like, we're able to get the net benefit of genocide. We're the only people with that. That's hundreds of thousands of deaths, which you should evaluate. Solvency page. Your first argument is that the reforms are coming in the status quo. The reforms have happened in the status quo, and that was able to solve it. It's not inclusive of our 2012 argument. You say that you are not getting post-aid. You're just not telling the truth because you read this argument as they increased their security in 2011. That is absolutely devastating for you. Also indicates they were able to get past 3 security checkpoints. If you're able to hear that they were getting past checkpoints and killing officials on their way to a bomb and saying no risk at all, then I'm pretty worried about the decisions that you're making, generally speaking, because that scares the hell out of me, and it should scare the hell out of all of us. They're getting very close to getting bombed. You're relying on you were just relying on the fact that probably won't happen. Probably not good enough in case of nuclear weapon safety because of the catastrophic risks that poses. Probably also particularly bad rhetoric on a nuclear weapons topic because the reason we're debating this very topic and the education key to the topic is treating this risk as a categorically different one. You should not evaluate that type of argument. Give us a lot of weight on this disadvantage. Your only other argument is drone strike back. You straight up are extending through ink here. Emily says that we don't fry drones over the whole country. You're extending through ink again when you say that Pakistan doesn't have these weapons. Emily says dirty bombs would still be able to trigger the impacts. And we also say that you're not right about these impacts because Pakistan wants rapid deployment, so they keep their stuff in the same place. You're extending through ink everywhere. We get 100% solvency of case. Game over. Pakistan. First argument I want is that the plan is actually popular because it looks like investment in domestic infrastructure. They don't breathe on it. It indicates that your links are about this plan being spun as so unpopular, don't make a lick of sense. I also want the arguments that Sharif is putting this. Yeah, the public likes domestic infrastructure, so public will like plans, so no backlash against the PPP. The other argument I want is the number 3 argument that Sharif won 7 of 8 seats in the by-elections that were held this past December. It indicates that he is rapidly overcoming everyone, in case that he should be able to win, which indicates that there's no uniqueness for your disadd. Other area where there's no uniqueness for your disadd is relations. Look for it. Look for where they're saying Pakistan and the U.S. all kosher, we're cooperating, we're solving Afghanistan now. They don't make that argument because they're not a bad team, and that argument is foolish and untrue. They're never able to make that argument. The only way that we can get cooperation is through the plan. Game over for you. You're also not even winning the secrecy debate. Your only argument is that it can be reported domestically, and it looks like a ramp-up debate. Not true, because we only tell people that are actually in power now. No reason they would link it. Your only argument is that the PPP is so pro-government that they would never link it. Probably in a world where everyone's making arguments that they're being criticized for being pro-government, probably indicates it's unpopular. That's also specifically made on the solvency argument. You don't even know if people find out about plan. You should be very skeptical of their ability to win a link. The other no link that we're going for is Pakistan gives aid. Listen, this argument is saying now they have this awesome issue that the United States gives aid to Pakistan and they can run away with the elections in that. We give them $1 billion every single year. The double bind that you put on us doesn't work because that's not what our links say. We already do this. It's already an issue. They're already taking into account the elections. Good job. Good job.
for Elim, and obviously good luck in the next round. It ended up being a 3-0 for the affirmative from Lewis and Clark College. Okay, so start on the F. I think that they have a pretty, at least a sizable risk of loose nukes being a thing in Pakistan. Joe's PMR is correct that a lot of the arguments that you try to extend in the PMR, or sorry, in the LOR, are a little bit extended through Samik. You say that they're safe, and you say that drones will be able to do it, and you have the argument about the fissile material and the launchers are in different areas. I think first off, Joe is right, you don't respond to the ML arguments for drones, so I'm not giving you that. The arguments that you have that they are secure is, I would like to see more of the comparison in the LOR as to this account and modeling resolves this, but that doesn't really get fleshed out. This accountability and modeling resolves these concerns, but that doesn't really get fleshed out or seems to be very solvent in a world where they're getting through checkpoints now. So I am unlikely to take that, and then I think that you again send through ink that they can get the fissile material, which is enough for a dirty monk. So I think that the likelihood that it exists is pretty sizable, and they solve. So makes sense. So the question now is, how likely is the disad? The problem for me with y'all's strat is that you really do not have a lot of impact uniqueness. I think that the framing is correct, that in a world where relations are collapsing now, your Afghanistan impact probably goes away, and in a world where loose nukes are likely now, your India impact goes away. I also feel that if you're going to try and do this where you have mirroring impact scenarios, there has to be a comparison between the two for me to understand which one is more likely. So in a world where the only person who's doing that is the PMR, it is significantly more likely that I will go that way. So there needs to be that type of comparison. More specifically on the line by line, I feel that there are this is one of those disads that links so easily that it's almost non-unique. And I feel that the arguments that you try and go with is that they will spin this any way possible because they want to win. Probably, in my mind, means that the $1 billion in aid is probably being spun now. You try and make arguments that this is new and it's right before the elections, but I don't know why that would really make that much of a difference, or you don't really quantify the difference that makes for me. So I have a hard time believing that this disad has uniqueness. So in my mind, pretty sizable risk of loose nukes being solved. You lack uniqueness and a unique link into the disad means that I vote that way. A couple things I will say. The first of which is that, one, you are letting them get away with way too much about how Pakistan holds its nuclear weapons. Some of them are in like these safe sites, but the majority of Pakistani nuclear weapons are driven around in unmarked vans because they don't want the US to go and steal them. Like, that is what that's the Nuclear Threat Initiative, that's the Congressional Research Service, all of them are saying that's how Pakistan is moving nuclear weapons. You let them get away with all of these will be protected, which means that you could probably be making arguments about how Pakistan's natural maneuvers makes loose nukes inevitable. I mean, a simple pothole would make that kind of scenario inevitable. So I think that you let them get away way too much in saying that they're able to protect every single nuclear weapon. The other thing I will say is that you also let them get away with Pakistan says yes, right? You let them get away with Pakistan accepts the aid. All of your arguments as to why he is moving away in the squall on the disad are reasons as to why they say no to the aid. If your arguments are true, it is better to frame these arguments as Pakistan or Zardari says no to the aid, and then you have some pretty sweet arguments then, because the saying no block not only means they don't solve the affirmative, but it probably means he goes out and talks about how he said no to the United States. That probably is the best link to freaking the shit out of India, right? So when in a world where you let them get away too much with how easily or how well they'll actually protect the weapons, and in a world where Pakistan says yes, you let them get away with too much of the debate. The last thing I'll say before I stop is I get very confused in the politics debate between everyone, because everyone is referring to him or he when there are two different people. So when everyone's saying he is winning or no, this person's winning, I do not know. You have to say Zardari or Sharif or whoever. So in a world of pronouns, I get very confused as to what arguments you are making where. So a little bit of clarity would go a long way in something like this.
I started by evaluating the case debate. On advantage one, the idea that status quo solves the F. I think the negative is extending some of what I think are actually the weaker arguments. The AK troop increase in 2011 indicates increased security in status quo, and some similar arguments. I actually thought that the later arguments about the strategic plan and in-depth accountability were stronger, although I'm guessing those apply more to like internal Pakistan military theft or unauthorized launch than they would to an external attack, which seems to be the scenario that the affirmative is going for. But I do think they are at least potentially stronger warrants. F goes for like weak post date, which for future reference, I don't really think is a very strong argument in Parley. You guys are relying a lot on like, we have this one fact, and that fact is recent, and therefore we are right. And to me, that is not generally a very compelling strategy, since I don't have the ability to be like, oh, well, this is the superior card, or something along those lines. That said, I don't think negative is doing a terrific job comparing with it, despite some great lofty rhetoric from the LOR. I basically don't have an easy way to resolve this question, and I think I'm granting the negative mitigation and the possibility that status quo is sufficient to prevent this from occurring, but it's certainly not like a 0% risk of theft or unauthorized launch occurring in the status quo. So there's some problem for the affirmative to solve, which is probably inevitable. I think maybe a bit more discussion out of the LOR of is sort of maybe attempting to quantify this probability in direct comparison to the probability of impact coming off the DISAD would be preferable. As for the separated materials argument, I agree with Colin. These arguments are largely extended through ink. I think it's a good argument, but extended through ink, quick strike, necessary something is wrong, and dirty bombs trigger the impact anyway, which I think is the most compelling argument. On advantage two, I'm skeptical of the AF's ability to suddenly reset Pakistani relations overnight with a quick $100 million in the face of drones. I don't understand what the Saudi Arabia argument is actually supposed to do. Everyone else in the debate rounds seemed to. I didn't get it though, so that's on me.
I sort of didn't really get it either.
Okay, phew, what a relief. Yeah, so just FYI, it didn't seem like it would be important for my decision anyway. However, from this piece of paper, I do get the assessment that you don't have impact uniqueness for at least part of the story on your disadvantage. On the dissent proper, top-level uniqueness is confusing as hell, probably because I don't know a lot about Pakistani politics. I did not do research on this file, unlike Colin, apparently. The affirmative has some fairly persuasive warrants, like Sharif one dated in December, which I thought was compelling, but negative has some fairly compelling warrants as well. I can't easily resolve this question. Fortunately, I don't have to, because bottom-level uniqueness, impact uniqueness, is certainly lacking at least for one scenario. I think one thing that could have been a game changer in this round is out of the LOC, there was poor structuring of the impact module to this disadvantage, which ends up really hurting you. At least this is coming out of my flow. I don't know if you were with me, but I think that you could have differentiated your impact out and gotten to a different scenario that was not dependent on US-Pakistan relations, but rather dependent only on who's in power and maybe their interaction with India. And you're doing this a little bit, but that impact is not really extrapolated or identified as separate. So something along the lines of this new guy in power is going to directly mess up Indian relations. I think maybe you get cleaner access to. I think you're getting a little ways there in the MO, but it's not your strategy, right? Yeah. And more importantly, I think there's good link defense from the negative as well. I don't know how to evaluate the secrecy debate necessarily. I think there's a good possibility that nobody finds out about the app. But more importantly, I think that the existing aid package is probably sufficient to trigger link anyway. And there's also this public works term, which is not good by any means, but is also not answered in. So there's no real comparison. If you want that argument to really count for something, you would have to be like, here's why public works matter more than whatever they're talking about, which would probably be an uphill battle, but is doable. Maybe. Possible. So, sorry, to conclude, risk of advantage one outweighs the dissent.
Yeah.
I'll be brief. The biggest problem for me in the debate, it really starts in the MO when you're not doing enough comparison of this, you're not indicting each app argument that you're answering, you're just sort of going in a line and every now and then you reference an argument. So I'm giving them a little bit of clean extensions on the uniqueness debate. I actually really struggled to resolve uniqueness debate as well as because I didn't think there was much comparison in the PMR.
On Pakistan politics?
Yes, on the politics.
Yeah.
Sorry, on the politics dissent.
Yeah, for sure.
So the biggest thing for me, the thing that I was easily able to latch onto was the billion that we give them in aid each year. I do think that the negative's probably winning the secret that it's probably going to be, they'll find out about it, but I think because it's already probably being spun, given we give them this aid already, it's not that big of a deal. I thought on the big thing for me also in terms of tipping the scale was advantage 2, controlling the impact on the dis set. I thought that was a very smart strategic move. I thought overall in the LOR, Rosemary, whenever something like this happens and there's not a lot of connections being made in the MO, I mean, you're not like you give a bad speech by any means. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have to be like, off this, we have this. Off this, we have this. They're going to go for this. We have that. Really try to tie it together. I didn't think you used the LOR as efficiently as you could have in this debate to make things a little bit more clear. You seem very, very big picture, which I do really enjoy big picture LOR, but I also like to see, especially in a debate like this, a little more dirty work happening on the flow in terms of clarifying things. And that's about it. We can get out of here. If you guys want to talk to me later, you're welcome to.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
Good luck.